Now I'm going to tell you a story. A little joke is that Bogdan, who you met earlier, told me that I just turned how to web on how to market on the web. I didn't. You're going to see lots of product talks tomorrow, but today we still have two great marketing talks. And the next one, I'm very proud that we managed to bring him here because like 1 month ago, I was reading a story on tech.eu on how to build a community around your product. How to Web is a community product, if we can call it a product, and most startups are communities. And communities are what makes the difference between a successful product and a less successful one. I read that article and Bram was giving very valuable advice, so I just decided to reach out to him. A little bit of background, he's been the European Community Manager of Product Hunt, and then he launched Startup Stash. I don't know how many of you use Startup Stash. It's the go-to resource for me when I'm searching for tools that I'd like to use in different areas. And I simply reached out to him. It was a cold email, and I was surprised that he answered and accepted our invitation to join us tonight. Bram, thank you very much for joining. Lerna, teach us how to build a community around our startups.
Thanks. Nice introduction, thanks. So welcome everyone. It's awesome to present in a cinema. I've never presented in a cinema before. I can see everyone all the way down into the back. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to build a community around your startup, but especially about how to build an early community around your startup. A little bit about me. I'm an 80s kid, 90s Internet Explorer. I've always liked to discover new stuff on the internet and try out new things to see what's going on. And one of my favorite things back in the day was Napster, obviously. I was downloading like all these songs and burning CDs and then sending them to school. And I always liked just using the internet to find all this stuff. And after my study, I started working at the Next Web, where I got in touch with the startup world. And when I found that, it was super interesting because I saw that people could have an idea and then they could work on that, and then other people would give them money and then they would build a company, which was amazing to me, and I never heard that. So that's when I got really interested to see how that world works and what people are doing. And after I worked at Next Web, I started working as an investor, where I helped several startups with product development, funding, etc. And during that time, I was still discovering new tools as an early adopter, just trying all this stuff out. I had like big lists of all these tools I could use. And then I found Product Hunt, which I'm going to tell a bit more about. But I used to work for them as their European Community Manager. Who of you knows Product Hunt? A lot of people already. Cool. For the ones that don't know Product Hunt, it's a community website where people discover and discuss about interesting tools and products in technology. And it really blew up. It's like 2 years old now, and it's from Silicon Valley. And it's a site where you can discover the best new products every day. This is what it looks like. Just a really basic Reddit-style website. Each day has a new list. And if you click on a product, you can talk about it. And it's become really influential ever since it started. And a lot of known startups have launched on there, like Meerkat, for instance, is a really interesting example. And just before I joined Product Hunt, I launched my own website called Startup Stash, which is a curated directory of resources and tools for startups. Who's ever heard of the website, Startup Stash? Oh, yes. Okay, so I can show you some new stuff. So this is the website. It's super basic. It's like an old school start page where you can find resources and tools. As you can see, it kind of follows the process of how you can create a startup. So it starts with getting an idea, or getting a name, buying a website, buying a domain, etc. And I built and launched this through Product Hunt with the help of my early community, and it went really viral. I got more than 200,000 page views in 2 days. And it's still helping entrepreneurs from all around the world to build their startup. And the most important thing about finding an early community is that you really have to start today or even yesterday. Because the problem solution phase in you know, when you're building a startup, is the most important phase on finding an early community. You found a problem that you want to solve and you thought of the product you want to create, but then it's already time to find the people that are interested in, you know, solving that particular problem. And the earlier the better, right? So if you find these people yesterday, you can get them involved in building your product and making it even better. But there's one problem. Nobody really cares that you are building a product, right? It's never been easier to build a product. Everyone is building something. And everybody's saying we're the best, we're the newest, we're the fastest, we're the, you know, there's like all these adjectives, you know, you can use to describe your startup. But the problem is that nobody cares. And you have to go through all the noise to, you know, get yourself known and get the word out there that you're actually building something cool. So where do you find people that could care? There are several websites you could use, like beta lists and start lists, and those are actually websites where you get an idea and you state what the solution is going to be. It's going to be a platform for XYZ, and then you can create a lander where you make an email drop off, and that's the website that you can put on these platforms. And these platforms are geared towards early adopters, people like myself that want to discover new stuff when it actually launches. So those are websites you could use. Other interesting things are Facebook groups, like niche Facebook groups. So you probably have Bucharest startup Facebook groups. In Amsterdam, we have an Amsterdam startups Facebook group. I used the Y Combinator Facebook group for the launch of Startup Sesh. And there's all these other platforms you can use too, like subreddits, niche forums, niche newsletters, just to find the people that could be interested in the product you're building. And you know, that's the most scalable way, right? Just use the internet. If you go outside right now, it's really difficult to find people that are interested in the problem you're solving and maybe even interested in the product you're actually building. So using the internet is the easiest way to find these people. I'm going to show you how Product Hunt actually started, which is super interesting because Ryan, the founder of Product Hunt, actually followed some of the things I just mentioned. And how Product Hunt actually started is by using an existing platform called LinkyLink, which is basically an invite. You can create a group around a certain subject, and everyone in the group can drop links in like a timeline, as you can see on the left. And every day, Ryan introed just people he knew, and all these people were adding the stuff they found in that group, and then at the end of the day, he just emailed out the most popular products to all the members of the group, and that's how we created the MVP. And after that, he posted his idea on quip.com, which is a niche forum for entrepreneurs in the tech and startup scene, where he also just shared the idea. He shared a sign-up link for his email list, and that's where he gathered feedback from early believers that thought the idea was fine, it was good. And then, together with these people, he built the first version of the website, and he got some press via relations he already had with Pando Daily and Fast Company, for instance. And then what he did was actually develop the website in public. So this is a mock-up they shared with the Envision app, and they shared it to all the users they already had, and all these people commented on all the new features they wanted to add and stuff. So he really built it together with all these people. And it's super interesting to see that you can build a product that's scalable, right? That you can roll out all through the world. But to find and gather like early believers in the community you want to create, you have to do things that don't scale. So call people, do house calls, write handwritten letters, email every person, for instance, that signs up to your site. And that's actually what Ryan did. He emailed the first 2,000 to 3,000 people that signed up to the site with a personal welcome. He researched them. So, for instance, this is an email to MG Siegler, who's an investor at Google Ventures and a former tech writer too. And he said, I enjoyed your writing, etc. So he really did some research into the users he gathered. And that's when I found Product Hunt. I'm user 2000, as you can see on the top right. So that was really early. They have like 200,000 users right now. And when I found Product Hunt, I really saw that this was a tool for my hobby. This was really a platform where I could post all the stuff I found and all the stuff that I thought was cool. So I emailed Ryan and said, hey, it was an invite-only site, so I emailed him and I said, yo, I'm in Amsterdam. I'm not really connected in Silicon Valley, but I know all this cool stuff. Please let me in. And I stalked him for like 3 weeks, and then eventually he let me in. And that was really cool, because then after that, I really saw the power of a community. I was all the way in Amsterdam, but by sharing all the stuff I found and commenting on it, I eventually became an influencer on this website. And during that time, Product Hunt blew up a little bit. They got some funding, and they went through an accelerator too. And all the tech press wrote about Product Hunt, you know, it's all the Silicon Valley investors look at this website, it's super popular, etc. And then there was me, just a random guy from Amsterdam, posting all the stuff that apparently all these people liked. And it was really cool to experience that, because that's truly the power of the internet, right? I was just in my office or at home, I found something cool, and then I shared it, and then all these people all around the world responded to the stuff I found. And it made me super engaged. I was just talking to all these people, so then I hosted a meetup in Amsterdam, and I helped them create the Product Hunt brand even further. And that was a really nice experience, because it really shows you that, you know, if you really like something and you're engaged, then you can actually help them go forward. So these are some of the products I posted, and this is a while ago. But this is the stuff I found, and I posted that, and we talked about it, etc. And all these products ended up as the #1 hunts on that day. So they had the most likes on the day I posted them. And all these founders, they emailed me. And they said, hey, we have huge traffic spikes, and investors are emailing us, we're getting feedback, we're getting new users, etc. And it was awesome to see, because, yeah, you know, I just found them, and then I thought it was cool enough to post. And then they experienced that happening with our company, or at least the product that we're building. So this really made me wanting to build something for myself. But what? As I told you, I was already, I had like a really long list with a lot of cool tools and bookmarks, etc. They were scattered everywhere. And at the time I was working at an investor, and I had like 100 tools that were suited for building a startup, that I could use during my work. But also for the future, I thought, well, if I'm going to start something, then this is a list of stuff I could use while building something myself. And I really like these old school start page directories. I don't know, this is a Dutch version of startpage.nl. I always thought this was a really cool way to start your internet adventure, right? If you were searching for something that's like 3 clicks and you're on another website with the exact information you were looking for. And there were current directories of tools and resources that were really big. They had a lot of stuff, but they weren't really like manageable. It was like a really long list. This, for instance, is Steve Blank's list, really famous American entrepreneur who created the business model canvas. And this was at the time the most known list of tools and resources you could use. But I thought I could do it better, so I wanted to create a curated directory. So just like Steve Blank with the whole list, I wanted to make a selection of the best tools I thought were out there that could help you create the startup of your dreams. And it was difficult to come up with, it wasn't difficult to come up with the idea, but it was more difficult to come up with the tagline, right? Because when you're building a product, a lot of people are actually building a product, right? It's super important that your tagline is descriptive. You should be telling the world what you're actually building. So I have a lot of people pitching me, they email me. We have a photo sharing app, for instance, and the tagline is shoot, share, inspire. Doesn't say anything about what it does, right? And you have to make sure that people understand. You have to make sure that you know yourself what you're offering. Is it a tool? Is it an app? Is it a website? Is it a service? Is it a marketplace? You know, there's a bunch of stuff you could do, but you have to capture that all in one descriptive tagline. So I got the name, I got the tagline, I got the idea. So then I started creating, like gathering all the content. I made one big Excel sheet, and I just started looking for more tools. So I started with 100. Eventually I ended up with around 700. And so I was just working on that, it took me a few months. But in that time I created a lender, I got on beta list, and I got on startup list to gather an early community of people that thought this idea was interesting. And then I started using these people. So I got around 800, like 6 to 800 newsletter subscribers, and I sent out 2 emails where I just said, this is what I'm building, here's a sneak preview, please provide me with some feedback if you know any other people that would be interested in getting to know this website. Please forward this email or have them follow me or social accounts, etc. And I sent out 2 emails, and I got around 80 replies. And that was super interesting because if you go out now, if you're building a product and you go out the door right now and you share what you're building, then it's pretty difficult to find 80 people on the street that are actually interested in what you're building, but also interested in giving you feedback and helping you go forward. So all these people helped me create the product further. This is an example of the email I sent. I tried to make it really personal, right? So I always thought nobody cares that I'm building a thing. I'm just a guy, and I just wanted to share what I was creating. So I gave them sneak peeks, I asked for feedback, and 80 people replied, and they all helped me to build the product further. And then at one point I realized that I was going to have a few hundred companies on my website, and I thought, well, maybe I should just email all these people. And I thought of a launching sponsorship that was like 2,000 euros. And I said, hey, you want to be a launching partner? It's 2,000 euros. I'm going to put you in all my emails, social, blah, blah, all that stuff. Like I just made it up. And I emailed them. They all said no. But 70% of all these people agreed to help me during the launch. So they were going to tweet and share in the email, etc., that they were actually, featured on that website. So I didn't make any money, but I knew these people were also going to help me while I was launching my product. So after 5 months and 100 euros or something, I had all the content, I made the website, I had these early people in place, and then it was time to launch. So this is basically the website as I showed you before. I ended up putting 400 tools and resources on there in 40 categories. Each category has 10 items in there. They're not ranked in any order. And I also decided to not give my opinion or add reviews or something. It was just all about showing that these are the 10 best suggestions in this category. So for example, if you click on MailChimp, this is a detail page where you see a little bit about the actual product, nice header image, and you can click through to the actual website. So when it was time to launch, I was thinking about my launch strategy. So the reason that I wanted to build something is because I wanted to use product hunt and see if I could create that feeling for myself. And then I was obviously going to use the early community I have through email. And then I decided it was also necessary to use a niche forum, so I found a Reddit, a subreddit called Entrepreneur, which is, 180,000 people, I think. And I started researching some Facebook groups too. And these are, by the way, in order, so of importance. So the product hunt was number 1, and sending tips to big tech blogs like TechCrunch, etc. was at the bottom of my list because I knew that it was pretty difficult to get on there. And I researched every channel, right? So for Reddit, for instance, you have to have a certain amount of karma, it's called, I think, for you to be able to post something in the subreddit. So like 3 months before I wanted to launch, I just joined that subreddit and I started giving some comments. And then in the end, I earned enough karma to post myself. Same goes for the Facebook group. I wanted to join some Facebook groups, and in a lot of these Facebook groups, you have to be approved to be a member. But of course, I didn't know how long that would take, so I signed up like 3 months before launch or something. I got accepted in 1 day. Eventually, you'll always see that. But it's really important to research all the channels you want to use. So when it was time to launch, I posted this on Product Hunt. This was, of course, my first channel. I had direct access. People knew me already. And I just made it really personal, you know, like, hey, I created something. Please check it out and let me know what you think. The second channel was using my early community. So I had around 900 subscribers right now, or 1,000 or something. Basically, this was the same, like, hey, this is the day I'm going to launch right now, and please help me get the word out if you think the end product turned out cool. Then I went on to a Facebook group. This is in the Y Combinator Facebook group, which has around 50,000 members too. Same thing, just showing that I'm a guy who created something, make it personal, ask for feedback, etc. And this is a personal email to all the people that declined my sponsorship, but eventually agreed to help me actually launch it. So I just emailed them and said, you know, it's live. Also, just a really personal, not in a sales way, kind of email, just showing them that it was live. And then, of course, Twitter. I had some followers, not that much, but of course it's interesting to share it there. And then something interesting happened, because Product Hunt tweeted it, and it tweeted like top products of that day. But then a lot of brands that were featured on the website, they were sharing it too, and like Marvel has 5,000 followers, and Survey also, so they also really helped me get the word out. And I didn't really expect this to happen, but that was really interesting. It wasn't really something I thought of in the beginning. I also tried to reach out to tech influencers, Chris Saka, all these important investors, those people. None of them replied. There's this one guy from Andreessen Horowitz, and he blocked me on Twitter just because I spammed him with my launch. So this didn't really work out. All the emails to all the tech blogs, I got 0 replies. That also didn't work out. So only the things where my community was involved, those only worked out. So all the people that were early believers, all the people that I already emailed, all the people that I already knew, those were only the people that helped me launch the actual product. And then Business Insider picked it up. They wrote a story on it, and they tweeted it. I think 1.5 million followers or something. And then Donald Trump's daughter also found it. And she tweeted about it. And there's all these replies below this tweet of Ivanka that say like, oh, Ivanka, you're so awesome, thanks for creating the site, blah, blah, blah. Like they all thought she made it. Fine by me. Also like 1.5 million followers, I think. So I had one day on Product Hunt. I ended up on #1. The next day I got featured in a newsletter, which gave me a new spike in traffic. So in 48 hours, I had 35,000 unique visitors, more than 200,000 page views. I put my personal email on there, so I had like 250 emails the next morning, new Twitter followers, like all that stuff. Super crazy, but super fun. And the reason why I wanted to build something for myself was to feel that feeling, right, that I gave to other people already. And it was super intense. And super fun to see that it could actually work if you really just think through all the ways you can reach early believers and all the ways you can actually launch the product. In the end, it ended up as the most liked product on Product Hunt ever. It still is, I think. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. It was never about money or status or like all that stuff. It was just about me creating a product. And I still think about what were the things that really helped me get the word out, and I'll get to that next. That's still difficult though, because I think there's a lot of stuff you can do, like using all the channels, etc., which I think are pretty mandatory. But it's also more about how you portray yourself, right? A lot of people are really like setting their startup. We're the coolest, we're the first, all that stuff. But that doesn't really work in this day and age anymore, because we're all super informed, right? We read on Twitter, we read tech blogs, we know all this stuff. So I always think you should think that you're, in the beginning, maybe not that special, right? You have to create something in order for people to believe in you and follow you. And this is also pretty fun. They say the biggest form of compliments is copycats, right? So this is, I got some copycats, which is interesting. This is makerbook.net. And they created a directory for creative people in the commercial industry. This marketing stack focused on people that are into marketing. This is from my hometown. I actually met this guy, the developer of a game company, and he likes to smoke weed, so he thought, let's make a directory for cannabis connoisseurs. And this is really cool. Actually, last week I found this out that one of the biggest inspirations for creating a website was the directory of Steve Blank. And I found out I'm actually featured on that list now. So I'm somewhere in the list of 2,000 items or something, but it was really cool to see. So what I mentioned before, key takeaways. Like I said, it's still difficult to really pinpoint what actually worked. But finding that early community, maybe even when you're just discussing an idea, right? Even before you have a website or a logo or all that stuff, try to find people that are already interested and keep them with you, ask them for feedback, give them sneak peeks, etc. And then build in public. So share everything you're doing. So many people are super secretive, right? Like, oh, I don't want that people steal my idea or my design or all this stuff. But if your product is good, if you're really solving a problem for someone, and if you're making a good product, then all this stuff doesn't really matter. You're never unique, that's what I always think. And in reaching out to people, always make it personal. Say, I'm the founder, I just want to know what you think of my product, please give me feedback. Just make it really, really personal, because people have so much noise around them in the real world, also on the internet, right? And to get through that, I think that the best way to do that is to be personal in all your communications. And when launching, really have a systematic approach. So there are like hundreds of channels you could use. I chose around 6. I researched them all down to the bone, like what do I need, what's my message on this forum or this newsletter or Facebook group, what's the message going to be? And then really use it in that way, like have a real systematic approach. But the most important thing is to show humility, and that was my thought all the way through creating this. I'm just a guy, I'm building something, nobody really cares. And you can say that in a bad way, but you can also say that in a good way, right? Like, look at me, I'm just doing it. I hope you like it, and please share it if you do, or use it if you do, or buy it if you do. And I do think that's the key to building an early community. And you should make people care by letting them join your adventure. That's it.
Thanks a lot for sharing all your experiences with us. Any questions for Bram? Over there. Say it out loud, and I'm going to repeat it in the microphone.
Do you think if you were to sell something on your website, it would change the behavior of the people that help you launch?
I think that's a very good question.
Does the behavior of the people change when you sell something instead of offering something for free?
I think that's a really good question. Still, if you're really solving a problem for someone, then in the beginning when you're creating a product, you can also work with pricing, right? If your product in the end is going to be, I don't know, $49 or something, just start off with 9 or 19 and see if people want to pay for the actual product. But you can still gather an early community, give it to them for free or whatever. But the most important thing is that the sales come after the belief, right? So you found a problem, you created a solution, and that's where I think the magic happens. Pricing can go up and down. There's tactics for that. I think you'll hear that throughout the day more. But still, if you really sell something, it could be different. But I think if you really solve a problem, then it won't be different. Is that kind of an answer?
Any other questions?
Hi. My question here. Yeah. So my question is, What next? It's awesome how you launched Startup Dash. What are your plans with it from now on?
It's still running actually. I launched it just before I joined Product Hunt, so I had a date in my head when I wanted to launch it, and a week before I was asked if I wanted to join them, so I said yes. Obviously because I just wanted to see what the startup was all about, and I really liked it. So the startup stage is still running. I didn't make a lot of money off it yet, but it's a nice, business card for me. I can show what I made, and that's how I'm using it right now. Because in the beginning, it was never about earning money on it or something. It's just showing my knowledge and trying something out myself.
We still have time for one more question.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
I'll ask you to ask that over networking because we have one more question over there.
So I'm here on behalf of Mozilla the community. My name is Adrian Mirza, and I was wondering if you're talking about building a community, and from what I understand, you're basically pushing the social network aspect. I was wondering if you also had a contributor aspect, and if you want to bring on contributors, and if people have helped you with hints and other topics and something like that.
Yeah, so for the first version, I just gathered all the tools myself, so I ended up at around 700 or something, and then I broke it down to 400 to actually launch the site. There's also a link on the website to a forum where people can do submissions for new tools. So I think it has around 2,000 submissions or something. So in that way, people are helping me now, and I'm still figuring out how I want to filter through all that stuff. Sorry?
How to expand that?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I do think that there's already like a lot of other sites, right? So Product Hunt is pretty similar in that way, where a lot of people can, post stuff, and then the good stuff filters out by likes and comments and stuff. But this was basically the idea is more geared towards me sharing what I think is best. So for now, it will be me filtering all stuff.
Thank you very much, Bram.
You're welcome. Thanks.